Everybody. Well, look, this morning I'm here with Our Lady, and yesterday she gave me this wonderful message on the power of prayer and basically an encouraging message on why to keep on praying. So here goes. My children, I implore you to pray at this time, for the lives and well-being of so many people depend on it. My little ones, if only you knew how important prayer is, you would give it so much more time and attention, both in your families and on your own. Consider, my children, a cold meal that needs to be heated up, and imagine that you're in the kitchen where there is both a microwave and an oven. If you didn't know that a microwave was, you would not guess that it could be of any use for you, as it shows no signs of fire or heat. On the other hand, the oven produces heat, and so you would logically think that this was the answer. My children, prayer is like the microwave, which is very silent way, can act far more powerfully and quickly than other things that look good. Prayer, my children, is more efficient than gossiping or talking or writing essays or books on human issues. Prayer is more efficient than flying around the earth meeting people and talking to them. Prayer is more powerful than human words and wisdom, and prayer is more efficient than the wisest of human strategies. That is why, my children, I call you to prayer, and especially prayer of my rosary, and if possible, regular adoration of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. I implore you to listen, for you do not be distracted by other human things. If other things were more important at this time than prayer, then as your Heavenly Mother I would surely tell you, pray, 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 and teach others by your example to pray. Many lives depend on your prayers. Many lives depend on your prayers. Our Lady also started off the message saying, I implore you to pray at this time, for the lives and well-being of so many depend on it. How much do we really believe that? You know, for example, some people donate blood, and they know that by donating blood, somebody somewhere would be able to have an operation and that it saves lives. Or some people donate a kidney or something, and by doing that they know that some poor person will be able to get a kidney transplant and will be able to live. Now, if we really knew the power of prayer, we would approach prayer in the same way. We would say, no, I've got an hour of prayer at 3 o'clock and I need to pray at 3 o'clock. It's important. It's extremely important. And so that's why Our Lady is saying, if you knew how important prayer is, number one, you would give it so much more time, and number two, you would give it more attention. Sometimes you might be praying there for an hour, but the hour you might be half distracted, you might be half thinking of this, half thinking of that, and I don't know, you might be 5 minutes late coming and 5 minutes early going, and the hour suddenly turns into 50 minutes, and during it you're checking your phone, and you got a WhatsApp message, and you got a Facebook message, and you're taking a couple of photos. And so Our Lady is saying we would dedicate so much more time and attention to prayer if we really knew how important it is. And then she gives us this wonderful example, which I thought was very funny in a sort of a way. She's saying, look into your kitchen and look at the power of the microwave. The microwave is silent, it's small, it's tiny, and yet you can put a cold meal, you could put even a frozen meal into the microwave, and in 2-3 minutes it'll have it all heated up. Whereas if you were to use the oven, you'd have to heat the oven, you have to wait for the oven to heat, and then you'd have to put your meal into the oven and wait maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes or something before it would be as hot. And so Our Lady is saying the same thing about prayer. Prayer is kind of like silent but violent, if you know what I mean. Prayer is silent, it looks discreet, it could almost look useless. The microwave, to somebody that doesn't know what a microwave is, imagine an alien coming from another planet, it looks useless. It looks like it can't do anything. And yet the power of microwave, it works in a different way. It heats your food from the inside out, working on electrons and atoms and all sorts of stuff. And it's the same thing with prayer. Prayer, if you like, heats up the world and brings change to the world from the inside out. And so it's far more powerful. But because it's more powerful, it's more silent, if you like. We can't see the results with our human eyes. So that's why Our Lady says prayer is more efficient than gossiping or talking or writing essays or writing books on human issues. Prayer is more efficient than flying around the world, meeting people and talking to people. Prayer is more powerful than human words, human strategies. And that is why she's calling us to prayer, especially to prayer of the Rosary, and regular adoration of Jesus in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Now, she's not saying that these things, by the way, flying around the world or writing books, she's not saying these things are useless, a bit like the oven. The oven has a use, but prayer is more efficient, she's saying. Prayer is more powerful. Prayer is more efficient. Prayer does more. And so she's calling us, and she says she's especially then calling us to prayer of the Rosary, and especially to adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. And I think the reason why she's so often encouraging us is it can seem at times, if we're based on human feelings, at times it can feel a bit useless. If you said, for example, you spent an hour praying the Rosary, or you spent an hour in Eucharistic adoration, sometimes you have not much to show from it, humanly speaking. Whereas if you said you spent an hour making the dinner, or you spent an hour doing the garden, or you spent an hour cleaning the room, or you spent an hour giving counselling, you have something more tangible to show for it, like here's the meal I cooked, or here's the flower I planted, or here's the person I helped. And so prayer, because of its silent nature at times, even though it's very powerful, we can get discouraged, which is why Our Lady keeps on encouraging us to say, no, there are silent rosaries, your silent adorations, the offerings you make, the fasting, all these things are extremely powerful, far more powerful than the more visible human actions. So do not be discouraged, keep on going. And she mentions it at the very end, she says, if other things were more important at this time than prayer, she says, I would surely tell you, I'm your Heavenly Mother, I've got a bird's eye view, if you like, of the world and all that's happening at the moment. And if there was some other way that was more powerful, more efficient, and more necessary for the world nowadays than prayer, I would surely tell you, my children. And she says, pray, pray, pray. Teach others by your example to pray. Again, by your example. There's no point in telling everybody to pray and then you're not praying yourself. That's called hypocrisy. No, teach people by your actions, by your life. Bring people to prayer, invite people to pray, and show people by your example. And finally, she says again, many lives depend on your prayers. And only last night I was reading a passage from the diary of Sister Faustina, and Sister Faustina often experienced that Jesus would put on her heart to pray for some soul. Maybe the soul was dying, maybe the soul was in trouble, or whatever was happening. And Sister Faustina knew that at that moment in time, just like a surgeon who was operating on someone who had a heart attack and knew that that surgeon and whatever he did was going to be responsible for saving that life, prayer can be the same. Prayer has that power to save lives. And so sometimes when Jesus, maybe during the day, puts on your heart to pray, he needs your prayer. And if you say, oh no, I'll do that later, that would be like the surgeon saying, oh no, I don't have time now for that heart attack patient. We'll operate in 5 hours' time. But 5 hours' time, the person is dead. And so that is why we need to be responsive, reactive to the nudgings of the Holy Spirit when he wants us to pray. And sometimes that might mean waking up in the middle of the night and saying some prayers. Sometimes it might mean during the day stepping out and saying some prayers. We have to just go with it. We have to know. And so that's why Our Lady is begging us to become people of prayer. And those of us who are involved in prayer, to walk in dignity. We will get a lot of people slagging us off, saying, oh, what a waste, you do nothing, what you do with your life, you could do this, you could do that, you're far more intelligent, you could do this, you could do that, you could do the other, surely God will understand, blah, 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 blah. You have to ignore an awful lot of people. They mean well, but they haven't got a clue. So no, prayer nowadays is super, super, super powerful. So let us not be discouraged. Let us not get downhearted. Let us keep on trusting, keep on going, and know that we're pleasing Our Lady immensely when we're doing things like rosaries, adoration, regular mass, regular confession. And if we're getting mocked and laughed at and people thinking we're wasting our time, well, then we can offer that suffering to Our Lady, and it can make it even more. It can be the icing on the cake. It can make our prayer even more potent and more powerful because we've even more stuff to offer her. So praise be Jesus. Keep on praying, praying the rosaries, praying the adoration, going to mass, going to confession, praying for the world, and by your life and by your example, be a shining light of prayer, of hope, of power and strength for the whole world, trusting that we're saving lives for Jesus and that he is waiting for us, and that one day we'll die, and when we throw ourselves into his arms, all the people we ever prayed for, that we ever helped, will be there around Jesus, and they'll be welcoming us into paradise, and they'll have a big party for us, and we will never regret all the prayers that we said in this world, and all the people that were mocking us or laughing at us or thought that we wasted our lives. They will all be hanging their heads in shame, thinking, gosh, I wish that I spent my life like you, and now what have I got to show for mine? So praise be Jesus, keep on praying.